Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Destiny from Desfix and welcome back to another video in the Django React.js blog application. In this one, we'll get started working with creating a new post and pretty much creating the API that will enable you create a new post. So you guys will see how we create custom posts and how we perform a lot of operation like fetching data from the requests, data objects, and also sending payload and structuring it, creating new model, and also send the response back to the front end. So that is what we'll be doing. Hopefully you will enjoy the video and learn something new. And also I would highly recommend that you check out nestblock.app. It's an application that helps you build websites faster, efficiently, and also streamline your development experience to provide you with tons of free to use components so that your next project will be built way faster and to be a banger. Without any further ado, let's get started. Just begin by opening up your code editor. And down here, you could collapse all this now. Down here, I will then create a new dashboard posts, create API view. And now this one totally depends on how you want to do it. If you want, you could use the generics view. If you want, you could use the API view. Let me use the generics dot create API view. So after this, then I'll go ahead and pass a serializer class. I will say API serializer dot post serializer, and also permission classes should be allow any for now. Okay, let's now go ahead and override the default create object. So remember, in the last ones that we've done, when we work with the list, we override the default get query set. When we work with retrieve, we override the default get object. Now we are working with create. Let's override the default create method. So what this will help us do is pretty much help us write our own custom function and pretty much create the post whichever way we want, right? So this accepts a couple of parameters: self, request, and also you need to pass in args and wags in case information related to that needs to be sent. And if you want, you could go ahead and print the request data to see what's coming from the front end. And the user ID should be equal to requests.data. And I want to say .get user ID. So if you're asking what the .get does, it's actually very simple. If you say request.data, user ID, and for some reason, user ID wasn't actually passed to the request data or as a payload to this API, then it will totally crash the program. It will throw an error. But if you use get, it will gracefully handle it. Instead of throwing an error, it will just return this user ID as none. Okay. But if you just use request.data without the get, just like we've been doing, it will raise an error for you. Okay. So that is number one. Now another thing that I will need for a post is title. I will also need image. I will also need description. I will also need tags. I will also need category and post underscore status. Good. So now we could go ahead and copy this and change it over here. All right, see that? So in case you don't know how to use shortcuts in VS Code, if you want to pull multi-line cursor, you can hold down alternate on your keyboard, click on wherever you want to put the cursor, you see? And you could then hold down shift and arrow key to select. See, it's as simple as that. Then you can copy and paste wherever you want. If you want to automatically add all the cursor to the front without clicking one by one, highlight everything, then hit Ctrl Shift I. I think Shift alternate I. Yep, not Ctrl Shift I, Shift alternate I. See? Shift alternate I. Good. So yep, that is pretty much it. If you want to add cursor to the back, do Ctrl alternate. That is the one I wanted to initially say. Then arrow key down and it adds it. I hope that's helpful. So now let's fetch the informations. User object should be equal to API models dot user dot objects dot get, where ID is equal to the user ID. We also need to fetch category. Category should be equal to API models dot category object.get, where ID is equal to category. All right, so that is pretty much it. Instead of calling this category, how about we call it category ID? Since this one here is already called category. So then we replace this with category ID. I hope this makes sense. So now let's go ahead and create a new post. I will say API models dot the post model dot object dot create. And now we're trying to create a new model. I would say user should be user. And if you don't want to have to type all this out, you could just go ahead and duplicate it like this. And then this one here should be status, should be post status, post underscore status. Now, if you don't also want to type all this out manually, you could go ahead and copy this, pretty much put it down here. Good. And also, there you go. That is it. Simple as that. Now we return response back to the front end. Message should be post created successfully. Okay, there you go. Now status should be equal to status.http 201 created. Good. That is pretty much it. Now let's go ahead and set up its API. So open up your URL. Let's set up its API endpoint. So this one is going to be, depends on what you want to call it, but auto dashboard. Then let's call this one post create. Post create. You can call it create post. You can call it new or whatever you want. Okay. So this should be. Okay, I think we have an issue with comma over here. Please add commas to all this so that your application doesn't break. So this should be dashboard post create API view. All good, all good. That is pretty much it. Our API for the post create has been successfully completed. In the next one, we will get started working with the post edit, which will be the last one before we start working on something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If there is something that you don't understand, please drop it in the question and answer section below, and also the comment section below. You also shoot a mail to deskfix@gmail.com in case your comments didn't get replied, and I'll try and possible best to reply your comments and help you fix your bugs. That is it. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, mad love. Peace out.